My earliest memory of my brother James is him breaking my toys. I was 5, he was 8, and I'll never forget the sight of him snapping the head off my favorite doll while our parents were downstairs. Tears streamed down my face as I clutched the broken doll to my chest. James just grinned, a crooked, mocking smile I'd come to dread. "Stop being dramatic, Emma," Mom said when I showed her the evidence of his handiwork. "Your brother was just playing. You've got plenty of other toys." That moment set the tone for our childhood. James would wreak havoc, and somehow, I'd end up being the one blamed or expected to simply move on. Being the younger sibling didn't grant me any reprieve. Instead, I learned early that I was supposed to be the responsible one. Our 3-bedroom house in suburban Illinois became the stage where this dynamic played out every day. Mom was a high school teacher, and Dad ran a small accounting firm from our garage. We weren't rich, but we got by, at least until James started high school. That's when the sacrifices began. One evening, when I was 13, Mom called me into the kitchen. She was sitting at our square oak table, the one with knife marks from where James had carved his initials years ago. Dad was beside her, his glasses perched on his nose, shuffling papers with hands that trembled slightly. "Your brother's been accepted into Riverside Prep," Mom said, her face glowing with pride. Riverside was the most prestigious private school in the area, with state-of-the-art facilities and a reputation for sending students to top universities. I forced a nod, the familiar knot of resentment already tightening in my stomach. James had barely scraped by in public school, yet somehow, he always landed on top. "The thing is," Dad added, clearing his throat, "the tuition is substantial. We'll have to make some adjustments." Those adjustments turned out to be sacrifices on my end. My ballet lessons were canceled. The summer camp I'd been promised, no longer in the budget. Even the college fund my grandparents had started for me was temporarily borrowed to pay for James' education. "It's just until your father's business picks up," Mom assured me. "James needs this opportunity. You understand, don't you, sweetheart?" Of course I understood. I always did. James's needs came first, always. High school became my escape. While James floundered at Riverside, I threw myself into academics and extracurriculars at the local public school. I earned perfect grades, joined every club that could boost my college applications, and worked part-time at the library. Every penny I earned went into a secret savings account, my quiet rebellion against the family's everything for James policy. By the time James failed to get into any decent colleges, despite Riverside's sterling reputation, I'd been accepted to several top universities, complete with scholarships. "We're so proud of you," Dad said, though his eyes lingered on James's closed bedroom door. "But maybe it would be more practical to stay close to home. The state university is excellent." I knew what he really meant. Staying closer to home would cost less, leaving more resources for James to figure things out. But I had other plans. The night after my graduation, I sat my parents down at the oak table where so many family decisions had been made. "I'm going to Stanford," I announced. "I have a partial scholarship and enough savings to cover the rest. I won't be asking for help." They stared at me stunned. Mom's voice quivered as she tried to guilt me. "Emma, we're family. We need to support each other." Those words would come back to haunt me. But at 18, they only solidified my determination to leave. College was my freedom. For the first time, I wasn't living in James's shadow. I majored in computer science, landed internships, and built a life where I was valued for who I was, not as someone's overlooked sibling. Then, during my final year at Stanford, I got the call. "Emma?" Mom's voice trembled on the other end of the line. "We need your help." Dad's business was failing, she explained. They were behind on the mortgage. James, still living at home and cycling through jobs, couldn't contribute. "We just need a little support until we get back on our feet," she pleaded. "You're doing so well. Couldn't you spare something for your family?" I should have said no. Every fiber of my being wanted to refuse. But beneath the layers of resentment, they were still my parents, and part of me still craved their approval. "How much do you need?" I asked, the words bitter on my tongue. That was 4 years ago. Now, at 26, I'm a senior software engineer in Silicon Valley. Every month, I transfer $3,000 to my parents' account. Money I believed went toward their mortgage and bills. Or at least, that's what I thought. It wasn't until I was scrolling through social media one night that I stumbled upon the truth. It was an Instagram post that shattered everything. Living my best life? Hashtagless #vacation. Read James's caption beneath a photo of him reclining on a pristine beach in Cancun, a vibrant cocktail in hand, designer sunglasses perched smugly on his face. For a moment, I stared at the screen, stunned. Maybe he'd won some sort of contest. Maybe, miraculously, he'd found a job that paid well. Then I glanced at the date, just 3 days after Mom had called me in tears, begging for money to cover the utilities. My stomach churned. I scrolled further through his profile, the truth unraveling with each post. James at luxury restaurants, wearing brand new designer clothes, flashing the latest iPhone. Post after post, all timestamped during the same periods when my parents had pleaded with me for emergency funds. 4 years. 4 years of working hard, sacrificing, and sending thousands of dollars every month to keep my parents afloat. How much of that money had gone to support this? My hands trembled as I dialed Mom's number. "Oh, Emma, sweetheart," she answered, her tone unnervingly cheerful. "I was just about to call you. Your father and I were wondering if you could possibly—" "Is James in Cancun?" I interrupted, my voice cold. The silence was deafening. "Emma, honey, let me explain." "Explain what, Mom?" My voice cracked as fury surged. "Explain how you've been funneling my money into James's vacations while crying poverty to me." "It's not like that," she protested quickly. "James has been going through a rough time. He needs these breaks. They help with his anxiety." I let out a bitter laugh. "Anxiety? What about my anxiety, Mom? What about all the nights I've stayed awake worrying about you and Dad losing the house, scraping together everything I could to help you? All while James is sipping margaritas on the beach with money I earned." "Don't be selfish, Emma," she snapped. "He's your brother. Family helps family." There it was. The same line they used to manipulate me for years. "Put Dad on the phone," I demanded, my patience gone. He's not here right now." "Really? Because I can hear him in the background." My voice hardened. "Dad, I know you're there. Talk to me." A long pause, then a sigh. "Emma," Dad said wearily, "listen." "No, you listen." I cut in. "How much of my money has gone to James over the past 4 years?" More silence. "Tell me." "We've been giving him an allowance," Dad admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. $2,000 a month, just to help him get on his feet." The world tilted. $2,000 a month. For 4 years. Almost $100,000. Money I'd earned, money meant to keep a roof over their heads, handed to James so he could live his best life. Does he even know? I asked, my voice trembling with rage. Does James even know he's been living off my hard work? "We thought it would be better if he didn't," Dad mumbled. "It might hurt his pride." That was the final straw. Without another word, I hung up. Then I blocked their numbers. Mom's, Dad's, James', every single one. But I wasn't finished. The next morning, I walked into my bank and canceled the automatic transfers to their account. Then I did what I should have done years ago. I hired a financial advisor. After reviewing my situation, she didn't mince words. "What your parents have done is essentially fraud. They misrepresented the purpose of the funds you were providing. You could absolutely take legal action." Part of me wanted to. I wanted them to face the consequences of their betrayal. But dragging it out meant staying tethered to their toxicity. Instead, I chose a different path. For the next week, I gathered every piece of evidence I could. Emails, text messages, bank statements, anything that documented their lies. I compiled everything into a meticulous spreadsheet, showing exactly how much money I'd sent versus how little of it had gone toward legitimate expenses. Then I drafted an email. Subject: no more lies. Dear Mom, Dad, and James, I've attached detailed documentation showing how you've misused $96,000 of my money over the past 4 years. I'm sure you'll be relieved to know this is the last time you'll need to lie to me. I'm cutting off all financial support effective immediately. James, congratulations on living your best life with money you didn't earn. I hope the cocktails and designer clothes were worth destroying any relationship we might have had. Mom and Dad, you've made your priorities clear. James is your golden child. Now you can figure out how to support him without using me as your personal ATM. Do not contact me. Do not try to guilt me. You've made your choices, and now I'm making mine. Emma. I hesitated for only a second before hitting send. Then I blocked their email addresses too. But I wasn't done yet. I had one last thing to do. I took all the evidence I gathered, spreadsheets, bank statements, texts, and emails, and crafted a detailed post on LinkedIn. My goal wasn't to shame my family, but to share my story and warn others about the insidious nature of financial abuse disguised as family obligation. 4 years ago, I started supporting my parents financially, the post began. Today, I discovered they've been secretly funneling that money to my unemployed brother for his luxury lifestyle. Here's what I learned about setting boundaries and recognizing financial manipulation. The post went viral. Within hours, my inbox was flooded with messages from strangers. Some shared similar stories, children guilted into supporting irresponsible siblings, young professionals exploited by families who saw their success as a blank check. Others sent words of encouragement, thanking me for speaking out. 3 days later, the calls started. Not from my parents or James, they were still blocked, but from extended family members. "Your mother is devastated," Aunt Sarah said when I picked up her call. "They might lose the house now." "They've had 4 years to figure out their finances," I replied, my voice steady. "Their poor planning isn't my emergency anymore." Then came the flying monkeys. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly had opinions about my cruelty. A family friend even showed up at my office, trying to guilt me into changing my mind. But I stood firm. 2 weeks after cutting them off, I received a letter from James, an actual letter, since I'd blocked him everywhere else. "How dare you embarrass our family like this?" It read, "Mom and Dad have always supported both of us. Just because you got lucky with your job doesn't mean you're better than everyone else. They needed that money, and you're being selfish." I didn't finish reading. I fed the letter to my shredder and didn't give it another thought. Then something unexpected happened. My grandmother, Dad's mother, reached out. "I've been watching this situation for years," she said when we spoke over the phone. "I wanted to tell you how proud I am that you finally stood up for yourself." She revealed that she tried to talk to my parents about their favoritism many times, only to be dismissed. "They thought they were helping James by shielding him from consequences," she said with a heavy sigh. "Instead, they've created a monster and nearly destroyed their relationship with you." Her words were a balm I didn't realize I needed. For the first time in weeks, I felt validated. 6 months have passed since then. The LinkedIn post opened doors I never imagined. It led to speaking opportunities at financial literacy workshops, where I share my story to help others recognize and escape financial abuse. I even started a support group for young professionals navigating family financial manipulation. Now my salary goes toward my future. I've bought my own home, built a solid retirement fund, and launched a small side business consulting on family financial dynamics. Last week, I received another letter, this time from Mom. Inside was a check for $5,000 and a note. "A small start on paying you back. We're sorry." I sent the check back with a short reply. "Keep it. Consider it the price I paid to learn who you really are." Yesterday, I came across a new Instagram post from James. He was sitting at a local diner, wearing faded clothes, griping about the difficulties of job hunting. Mom and Dad had left comments full of encouragement, but it was clear they were no longer footing the bill for his lifestyle. Sometimes I miss the family I thought I had, but then I remind myself that family never truly existed. It was an illusion, one I maintained at the expense of my own well-being. When people ask me about my family now, I tell them about my chosen family, the friends who stood by me, my grandmother who spoke the truth, and the community I've built with others who faced similar struggles. I've learned that family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about mutual respect, honesty, and lifting each other up, not enabling destructive behaviors. As for my parents and James, I hear they're finally learning to live within their means. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is to let them face the consequences of their own choices. My story isn't about revenge. It's about freedom, breaking free from toxic patterns and reclaiming my life. The money I lost, it can be earned back. But the lessons I learned, those are priceless.